Good afternoon, everybody. I've been wanting to make this video for a while now, and I've been waiting to gather my thought and make sure that I can give some specific information that might help other people that were in the same case as me. In order to not waste people's time, because I've been there multiple times searching on internet and YouTube and FaceTime and different things. I'm going to give you a list of the symptom that I was experiencing, and if it fits within your category, please just watch my video, and hopefully will help you to diagnose your condition and maybe get back your life as much as possible. My symptoms started about it's been about 3 years, a little bit more than 3 years. So basically, I had this disease for a little bit above 2 years of my life. And I do call that a disease because it was literally miserable. I'm sure a lot of people can relate. Like, your life is on hold. You don't get any answer. You go from doctor to doctor. You go from test to test, and you're miserable. And your symptoms are not getting better, not getting worse. At least in my case. And you're questioning everything. You don't know which way to go. And finally, you get to the point where there's no answer to the question. There's no treatment, even palliative treatment for the symptoms. And in my case, I was like, I was trying to figure out, I could not live like that. The symptoms were too important, too severe to be able to live like that. I was just trying to deal with it 1 week after the other, one day after the other. But it was really pure misery, and I don't wish that to anybody. And I am a little bit bitter about it, and a bit mad about all those different gastroenterologists that I went to see, because my condition is not that complicated. I did finally, after a lot of research through internet, and again, internet and FaceTime, YouTube, all those things are a curse and a blessing at the same time, because you get a lot of information, but you get a lot of also what I call garbage, where people talk or they self-diagnose their condition, but without having done any proper testing. They're just guessing what their condition is, and they're also guessing what the treatment is based on nothing really. And basically, people like me and a lot of people, you just have a lot of hope, and you're so desperate that you try anything that you see, because everything gastroenterologic wise, as every disease, every condition, kind of have the same basic symptoms to start with. So if there's one that crossed the path, even if some don't make sense, you're like, well, maybe that's what I have, so let me try that. And I've been to that sequence so many times in 2 years. It was ridiculous, but I had to try, because from a medical point of view and all the appointment, the testing I've done, I got zero answer, zero result, and I was in pure misery. My life was on hold. It was just misery, like terrible. Anyway, let me start with how everything started. So in my case, and again, I want to explain as usual that I'm not a physician. I'm just an average person that went through misery, and I'm explaining things as I understand it myself, because I can relate, because I've been through that. But I'm not giving any advice, medical advice to anybody. I'm just explaining what I did, how I found out my condition, and how I feel today. So hopefully that can help other people seek medical advice and gear us towards the right thing to get better. And that's about it. So again, I'm not a physician. I'm just giving advice on my personal experience, and hopefully that could help other people. So in my case, it was interesting. It was time was literally Christmas Eve. We went to a family gathering. I ate a lot, and the night off, I woke up in severe pain, epigastric pain right below the sternum. Like it woke me up, and it was intense. It was like a 7 out of 8, 7 to 8 out of 10. Very localized, didn't radiate. Lasted for a couple of hours. I woke up, I walked, I drank water, I tried different things, and then finally, after a couple of hours, it kind of decreased enough that I was able to go back to sleep. The next day, I felt okay when I woke up, everything. And then the night again, the second night, same exact thing. Woke me up, a lot of pain. Didn't last as long, probably lasted like 2 hours, I would say max. And then after that, all my symptoms started to happen within a couple of days of that episode. And I'm not sure if it is related or not. Again, I'm just gathering thought and explaining my personal experience. And it might be related, it might not be related. I cannot really give you specific on that one. But that's how everything started. And then all my symptoms started. After that, gradually and probably within 7 to 10 days, my symptom reaches their max peaks. I had abdominal pain that was pretty much constant all the time. Epigastric, I would say, not really abdominal, lower abdominal, like epigastric, right below the sternum level. The pain was moderate at the beginning, all the time, constant. And then it subsided as the months passed by to a mild pain. But again, localized right here, not radiating, and constant all the time. It would fluctuate. All my symptoms were the same throughout those 2 years, but it would fluctuate as far as intensity and frequency as well. So first one, that epigastric pain. The second one, I started to have nausea, and I never ever had nausea as far as I can remember. So nausea, like moderate nausea, especially in the morning. I would wake up in the morning, and until I started to eat breakfast, I had really bad nausea, like feeling like feeling almost like I had to vomit, but I never did. But that weird feeling of nausea, which I never really experienced or understand well, but now I can tell you that I do understand what is nausea. And then the nausea also happened throughout the day, randomly, mildly, but in the morning, moderate every single morning. Pretty bad, I have to say. Next symptom was abdominal distension, bloated. Again, I never experienced that in my life, and now I do understand people that go through that. And I have so much more compassion, I have to say, since that happened to me, because I realize how people have different symptoms that I never really understood myself, because I've never been through that. But now I do understand, and I have so much more compassion for other people because of that. It's abdominal distension is strange. You feel exactly what it is. It's at some point, some days it fluctuated, but some days it felt grotesque. It felt like my belly was just bloated, like really a lot. I'm generally pretty fit, and you cannot hold your abdominal area, like your abs muscle, really, because you can, but it feels worse if you do. So you kind of let go your abdomen, your belly, because it feels better. If you try to just be normal, it feels worse. And that was another symptom. The other symptom is indigestion. It's hard to describe or to use another word. Really, it was just indigestion, like as if you eat like a heavy meal, like a greasy meal, and then you feel like it's hard to digest, to process that food that you ate. That's what I felt. I had indigestion all the time. Every time I eat, I had indigestion, even if I don't eat. That weird symptom, like you ate something bad or you ate something heavy, and it's really hard to process. Next symptom will be a noise in my intestine, abdominal area. There's a name for it, I forgot the name of it, but basically you can feel it and you can hear it too. It will just make noise. Again, randomly, some days worse than others, some time of the day worse than others, but it will just, that sensation. and that noise that it makes, something like was not processing right. I don't know, it was hard to, but that's the base thing. I was getting really tired, like fatigue tired. Like normally I don't fall asleep very easily, but I was feeling so tired that I would just go to bed and fall asleep because I was so tired, which is rare for me. And then unfortunately my symptom will wake me up generally by 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning every single day. So that would add up to the tired and fatigue because I could not do my normal sleep cycle basically. Now, what made it better, interestingly, is that after I eat, I felt better. Like when I eat, I felt better. But then I paid for it. It was one of those things where when I eat, it felt better. And then within, again, it varies, within half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours or even more, then I would have increase of all the symptoms I just explained before that. But when I eat, it felt better. And then I just paid for it though. There was also a weight loss after about 10 months to a year. My normal weight is pretty much the same as my adult life. I've always been around 190, 193 pounds. And then I went down to the lowest was 172 pounds, I think, which was quite a bit for me. Again, I'm generally pretty in good shape. I take care of myself. I exercise every day. I used to before that happened. And to lose that much weight was so strange. And I was losing weight without trying, obviously, but also by trying not to lose weight. So I will eat another shake before night. I will try to eat more snacks, different things to compensate when I start to see on the scale I was losing weight, and yet I was just losing weight. Anyway, so those were my symptoms. Also to be noted, because the gastro always asks the same question, there was no burning sensation, there was no burping, regurgitation, there was no gastric acid-like sensation coming back up, no vomiting. I did also bad breath, which everybody has bad breath once in a while, but I had consistently bad breath, and my wife reminding me of that quite frequently. Anyway, so those were my symptoms. And then, of course, with this video going on YouTube, I'm going to try to use a word that would not give me censorship. But the other symptom was, of course, going to the bathroom. Again, normally, I'm 54-year-old now. Normally, you know your habits as far as going to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom once a day, sometimes twice a day. That's it. And I'm very regular, consistent. As far as my bowel movement, all my life it's been on the hard side, generally dark brown, and that's it. You don't really pay attention to those things, but you know what it is. And then when all that disease started, suddenly I had loose bowels, yellow in color, stringy, floating in the toilet, and a terrible smell. I mean, it's again, you know your smell when you go to the bathroom. It's never a good smell, but a really terrible, different smell than you. That's not you, and horrendously bad, I have to say, like terrible. Yellowish in color, stringy, floating, not really diarrhea, but I had some bouts of diarrhea here and there, but just loose bowel, really. And something that was new also, the urgency. I had to go to the bathroom. Like if I felt I needed to go like bad. Like I could not wait or hold it. I had to go. And that was new, and that really affected also my life. And I never understood that, but I do understand now when I saw the video from other people. It's very uncomfortable, and it affects your life. You have to plan everything that you do. You can't just wing it. You cannot be like, oh, I'm just going to the gym, I'm going to go to work. You always have to plan that there's a bathroom somewhere where you go that you have access to, because you can't hold it. It's pretty bad, to the point where even in my car, I made I brought a roll of toilet paper, I brought a trash bag, I brought a change of clothes just in case. Never had to, but sometime I was pretty close to, and it's embarrassing. It's even hard to talk about it, but it is, again, what it is, and I'm trying to explain everything genuinely to everybody, to explain if it can help someone. So it's not the point of just putting, you know, love flower around it. And what else? As far as my symptom, also after a while, but that was like a couple of months ago. See, down there after I go to the bathroom, or even during the day, I was very itchy. I never had that before. I was itchy, like moderate, not severe, but moderate, frequently itchy, which never had that before. Really strange. Almost like when you hear people that have parasites or something that feel like they itch all the time. It felt like that. It feels so like itchy and a burning sensation sometimes too, like as if you eat spicy food, and when you go to the bathroom you feel like a little bit of, not burning, but like hot burning sensation due to spicy food down there. That's how it felt, and that was frequent too. So as far as my symptom, that's all I have to say. So due to that, and again, if you have any of those things, please continue with that video. Maybe you can relate, and maybe it will help you. If it doesn't fit your category, don't waste your time, because unfortunately, I'm sorry, but that video is gonna be a little bit long, because that's 2 years of utterly misery and questioning yourself and your future and what's going on, and everything. So about after my symptoms started, I tried to, eat very healthy food and rice and different things, and nothing helped. I had that pain and nausea, and it was really odd. So I went to consult. I waited, I would say, about 10 days, and then I went to consult with a gastroenterologist. And that's when the sequence started of more even misery and ridiculous amount of testing. And I realized I never been to a gastroenterologist before in my life. Again, 54-year-old. I just do general checkup once a year. I'm very healthy. I consider myself very healthy until this happened. Never had any health conditions. Nothing, no medication, no prescription, nothing. Exercise every day, run, very active. And this started. So anyway, I went to consult a gastroenterologist. And gastroenterologist basically, from my experience, so I saw a total of 4 different ones. I saw also an internist, and they are famous for just doing testing. A lot of testing. And I understand you can only treat something if you test to know a diagnosis. However, it's overkill, really, from, again, my point of view. There was a lot of testing and testing and testing, but there was really no answer to the question, and there was no treatment. And when I realize now how simple my condition is and how simple it was to take care of it, and the fact that none of them figured it out, it's mind-boggling, and it's just more than mind-boggling, really. It's frustrating, sad, maddening, being so miserable for so long. My goodness. So as far as the treatment that I had with those 4 different gastroenterologists I had 4, and it's not in a specific order. I'm just going to a list that I wrote down, but I did them different time. And you have to realize too, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate, you have a life. It's not like you just stop your own vacation. You have work, you have a family, you have children. You still have to go to work, you still have to do things, and in the middle of that you have to go to all those appointments, all those testing, all those things that you do. It's really, really hard. So I had 4 different blood tests, showed nothing. I had 2 H. pylori tests. The first one was positive for H. pylori. I'm not going to go over the detail of the testing. You can Google it. Some of them are fairly straightforward, easy. Some of them are pretty difficult to do. I'm not going to deny it. Time-consuming, difficult, expensive. There's also a money factor in all of that, because I think most of us were willing to go to a couple of appointments, do a couple of tests. Of course, you want to know what's going on when you have issues. But to go through 2 years of misery and appointment after appointment and test after test and zero result, like nothing, not even a little bit of getting better, is beyond and it's ridiculous, really. So 4 different blood tests, 2 H. pylori tests. The blood test was totally normal, nothing. H. pylori, the first one was positive, but we'll go over back to that. Second one was negative. I had 2 SIBO tests, positive, and I will go over that. 1 sucrose test, again positive, but I will go over that. I had X-ray of the abdominal area, chest area, the 2 stool sample tests done for parasites and different things. I had a CAT scan of the abdomen, and I had a ultrasound of the abdomen of all the organs. I had, of course, the classic endoscopy and colonoscopy, and looking at all those videos and talking to a lot of people and forums. Also, it's one of the things about gastroenterologists. No matter what's wrong with you, you're gonna get a colonoscopy and you're gonna get an endoscopy and a colonoscopy. It's a bit ridiculous. There's also a financial money factor into it. Like, yes, they're trying to help you diagnose something, but I think it's overkill by a lot. Like, no matter what's wrong, oh, let's do a colonoscopy, let's do an endoscopy. I mean, really? Anyway, and it's done, of course, by the gastro in their center, and they bill you and all that stuff. But anyway, I had also a MRI with contrast for the different organ, gallbladder, etc. I had also a nuclear medicine test called a gastric emptying study. Also, that was all afternoon long, I think from 12 to like 5 o'clock. Not a difficult test per se, but again, you have work. You have to take time off work. They only have a few lab that do that, so you have to travel quite a bit to go to that place, etc. Anyway, I saw 4 different gastro, like I said. I saw an internist. I saw a naturopath, doctor of naturopathy, and I will go over that too. For consultation, I didn't do the treatment. And I was so desperate too at one point also when I traveled back to my home country in France. I also went to see a sorcerer, magnetism, people that do magnetism above you. I mean, I was when you're so miserable and you have no answer, nothing very, you're willing to try really anything at this point. So that's what I did. Now, what was I diagnosed with? That's where it gets really interesting too. The first gastroenterologist, I have to say, was working for one of those big, large group. It was polite, decent bedside manners, but really totally empathic. No empathy about how people, at least myself, suffered. Very hard to get any answered. Very short. You have really like 10 minutes and that's it. You could tell that he was on stuff. And really most of the time all you see was just tapping on his computer, not even looking at you during the consultation. I mean, I always had to kind of ask to get answer, or ask question, or ask about what's the next step, what should I do. But I stick to him because, well, again, you got to have a professional opinion. It's their job, and you think that they know the right thing to do, so you go with that doc, and then the next step, and the next step, and the next test. So he diagnosed me with, literally, I think the first day I went out, I did a H. pylori test, diagnosed me with H. pylori, and then gave me antibiotics, and of course the classic omeprazole antacid that everybody gets. You go to gastroenterologist, also pretty much everybody get antacid medication, whatever. There's different kind. I tried 4 different kinds. So again, that's kind of another thing where no matter what your condition, they're gonna put you on antacid medication or omeprazole. Also a little bit ridiculous. Doesn't make any sense when you take a step back. H. pylori, very interesting, and I questioned him at the beginning too, because interesting, after the treatment, antibiotics, which was a little rough. It's antibiotics and actually against parasite, if I understand right. Maybe I'm right, I think, or I'm wrong. But man, that gave me a bad diarrhea it was, I believe, 10 days. Bad diarrhea, and that was hard to work and ridiculous. But you know, again, first appointment, doc got the diagnosis. I'm like, okay, makes sense. Why not? I Googled it. It's like, yeah, sure, makes sense. Gastritis with H. pylori. I did a treatment, and interestingly enough, and I can go back to you to explain you why. Again, now everything makes sense. At the time, it does not, but now that I know my condition and what it is, it makes sense. I felt better. I felt better after I finished the antibiotics and the anti-acid medication, and then within, I would say, less than 2 weeks, yeah, like literally maybe 11 days, 10, 11 days, the symptoms came back exactly the same thing. And then I went back to him, did another H. pylori test that showed that there was no H. pylori. Of course, after all the antibiotics I took, everything was dead down there. And after I Googled it, also was strange, because when you look at H. pylori, there's a lot of things in gastroenterology, I'm sorry, that don't make sense if you just look at it a little bit objectively. Look at H. pylori. Really, the studies show that I forgot how many percentage of the world population had H. pylori, yet not the same percentage have gastritis. Same thing in America. I forgot the percentage. You can Google it. Meaning, let's say 30% of the population at one point has gastritis, but yet oh, it's the opposite. 15% have gastritis and then 30% have H. pylori. But yet it shows that not everybody does have H. pylori has gastritis. One doesn't mean the other. But yet the clinical protocol is just, well, antibiotics, antiparasites, and anti-acid medication. It's a little bit ridiculous. And why not just do the anti-acid medication, see if you have gastritis, or just do the antibiotics to kill H. pylori? Do one or the other, so that way you can diagnose better just by treatment. If you kill all your H. pylori and then you have no more symptom, then of course, then that's what it is. But if you kill the H. pylori and you still have the symptom, then not. And I guess the point is like, well, the H. pylori gives you the gastritis, so you have to decrease the acidity as well, so that way you affect both areas. Okay, well, yes and no. I mean, in that case, why do most people that have H. pylori don't have gastritis or ulcer? But anyway, so the second H. pylori test when I went back to him was negative, and that's when the cascade of testing and testing and testing for a year or plus a year and a half went through. Of course, the endoscopy, and then the CAT scan of the abdomen, then the x-rays, the MRI, all those things. And then you go, again, you have a life, you're trying to have a life, you have no choice, you have go to work, you have kids, you do what you have to do, but you're miserable, and you hope that the next step's going to show something. And then when you do a test, then you do have to do a re-exam with the doc to get the result, and then no, nothing, it's normal, so let's do the next test. But it seemed when I was talking to him, there was no rhyme or reason. Like, I was just going from one to the other, not really focusing on anything. Interestingly enough, probably a couple of months inside of that whole story, again, I'm trying to use the right word to not get censored by YouTube, but I took picture when I go to the bathroom and show him, like, doc, when I go to the bathroom, it smells horrible, not my usual smell. And it looks yellow, stringy, floating. I've never been like that. It's always been more on the hot side and brown, dark brown. And no, the doc always say, no, it looks normal. There's nothing wrong with the way your bowel movement looks. It's normal. I mean, I know it was not normal, but you can't. Again, you're professional. You argue. So we went on and on and on for about a year and a half, doing all the testing. No treatment whatsoever, just testing. Very little asking about diet, about life, activities, which is strange. It's a gastroenterology. It's very little about asking about your bowel movement, what you eat. It's a gastroenterologist. I mean, but all of them were like that, really, to tell you the truth. So after my first diagnosis was a gastritis, it was H. pylori, and then second diagnosis was gastritis, and then within my next diagnosis, which I have on his reports, basically, of course, I was diagnosed with IBS, you know, like everybody else. I call that the garbage diagnosis. I mean, it's like when you don't know what's going on, IBS is always the way to go. It's great because there's not really a test for IBS, you know, and all the symptoms are the same and contradictory. Well, you have IBS, you have diarrhea, you have IBS, you have constipation, you have IBS. Nausea, yeah. Abdominal distension, oh yeah. Indigestion, oh yeah. IBS for sure. Garbage diagnosis, you know, means nothing. So IBS, and then I went with all the tests. I think the last test I did with that gastro was the gastric emptying study, nuclear medicine. And again, it's interesting, those testing, really, because when I did, for example, the colonoscopy was normal, which, tell you the truth, I was very relieved emotionally. I don't get very emotional, but I was so relieved. I mean, I really thought I had cancer at that time because nothing makes sense. I was in such a misery, and even if I know there's marker like on the blood test would have showed that and stuff, you still, it's like I have to have rectal cancer or colorectal cancer or colon cancer, something. It's I mean, I didn't see anything. So when I was done with colonoscopy and he told me everything was normal, I mean, I was so relieved. Tell you the truth. That was, well, one good thing in that bad situation. The endoscopy showed a very slight gastritis and a very slight hernia, the hiatal hernia. But when I talked to the gastro, it's like, your symptoms don't correlate with a very slight gastritis or very slight hiatal hernia. They will not give you that kind of symptom. It will be really asymptomatic for what you have. So I ended up with that gastrologist with a diagnosis after my IBS of functional dyspepsia, another garbage diagnosis that basically just means that the patient has trouble digesting. But it doesn't mean anything, doesn't say why or how or anything. It was pointing to dyskinesia, meaning my GI tract, my bowel were not moving at the right space, at the right place. You have muscle that contract to do the digestion on your bowels, and they were not moving at the right place. And he also gave me some specific treatment for that didn't do anything, but it was still, that was his diagnosis. And basically he told me that I was done. There's no other test I could do with him, and you know, he prescribed me some the classic medication at the end of the game. When you don't know what it is, then it's, you know, basically it's psychosomatic, basically it's, you know, mental. So he gave me some antidepressant medication, because if you read the paper, and which I read, sometimes it helps too. We don't know really how, why, but somehow it helped. GI condition, didn't do anything whatsoever. So that's where I was left. And while I left that appointment, I was very, very bitter and mad, I have to say, that I was just discharged in pure misery. Could not live like that. And I just went home, and really I didn't know what to do really at this point. I was just I was not in a good place. So of course, in the meantime of that year and a half, you do your own research, which again is a curse and a blessing. Internet, as far as research paper, article, forums, where I talk to a lot of people, and again, a lot of compassion with everybody that's suffering so much with gastrointestinal disease and condition. It's amazing how many people have a difficult life due to that. And I tried everything, because every time you look at a YouTube video, unfortunately, or you look at an article written by someone, Jojo, your symptom kind of mimic that. Again, everybody has GI problem, or a lot of people is going to be like, well, you know, I had abdominal bloating, and that's what I have, and that's what I did. Oh, I have nausea, and that's what I have, that's what I did. Oh, I got indigestion non-stop, I got diarrhea non-stop, I got this, and that's what I do, that's what I did. But a lot of people, they have never done diagnostic, they haven't been really to the doctor once, and they self-diagnose something, and it's told us how to treat it based on nothing really. So you grab it and you try it, and and you pray and hope that it works, but nothing worked. And I did everything. When I say everything, I'm gonna show you. I put some of the thing that I try on the kitchen table, and I mean, that was literally, I would order a bunch of stuff on Amazon. I tried different herbs, different supplements. I went as far as drinking clay. You mix it. I mean, again, you see a video of someone say, well, the clay will help cleanse and do things. I mean, it tastes just like clay, basically, mixed with water or dirt. I tried prebiotics, probiotics, earth biotics, which were quite expensive. And again, those things are expensive. It's not like, you know, so yeah, some are cheap, but some are quite expensive when you follow the protocol. I did a SIBO protocol as far as herbal remedies, which was quite hard, alicillin and all those things. And when I do everything, I do it by the book. I research it and I do exactly what they say to do, and I do it for X amount of time. It's not like a one-day thing. I do it for weeks at a time, hoping that it will work. And none of it worked. Very, very frustrating. I did digestive enzymes, any kind you can think about. I did it. I did the protocol for that. I took omeprazole. I took also 3 other kind of medication, famotidine, and all the medication that were prescribed to me. I did for SIBO. I had the enteric-coated antibiotics, which were very expensive, and again give you some bad diarrhea. That did nothing for me. Very nice. So that was the second gastroenterologist I went to see. I have to say the second one was much better in the fact that even if he didn't help me, he was way more genuinely concerned and very nice, and you could tell that he cared about his patient. The first one did not. You were just a number. You were 10 minutes and that's it. The second one was very nice, very concerned, very good, but very kind. You know, you could tell you're suffering and he's listening, and just that made a difference, even if he didn't help me. And that's when I did the test for the SIBO, the test for the sucrose. So I'm not going to go over the test. You can Google it yourself. There are, you know, you have to pay for them. And then you send them to the lab and you get the result. And I was positive for SIBO, and I also did the test for sucrose, and apparently also sucrose intolerance. And then I did a test also for different digestive enzyme, and I was deficient in I think 2 enzymes. I forgot which one, but I did the testing for that too. So with that second gastroenterologist, I did the treatment according to the testing and what has done. I spent a lot of money, a lot of time, and I got 0 results. So the SIBO, basically enteric antibiotics, very expensive. I took them, a lot of diarrhea, and didn't change anything. So obviously my symptoms were not due to SIBO. And yeah, I don't know if SIBO, yeah, they talk a lot about it, but I'm not so sure about that. Again, I think a lot of people are misdiagnosed with that, really, personally. For SIBO, I did the herbal remedies, which were not easy to do. I followed the protocol by the book for weeks and weeks, and it didn't do anything. And then I did the antibiotics and didn't do anything as well. I did the pre-earth biotics and didn't do anything. For the sucrose, very interesting too, sucrose intolerance diagnostic. So you do that test, came positive, and then you have a medication that's prescribed to you, that was prescribed to me, and the medication is, thankfully I had a decent health insurance and was paid. The medication was like something ridiculous, like, I don't want to say a mistake, but I think it was like $10,000 or $15,000 a month for that medication, because only one lab does it in America, and basically they have the monopoly, so they charge whatever they want for this medication. And when I heard that, just principle-wise, no, that's ridiculous. And then I just treated myself. I was like, okay, you tell me I have a sucrose intolerance, then if I stop eating sucrose, then my symptoms should stop, or at least should get better within, 2 weeks of doing that. Very difficult diet to do because sucrose is everywhere. Fruits have sucrose, some vegetables have sucrose. So I went on a sucrose-free diet, or as far as I could tell, pretty much sucrose-free, which was very hard to do because everything has sucrose. and no change. So again, if I have sucrose intolerance and I do that diet, I should be back to normal or at least feel better. So, you know, that medication, that treatment, that diagnosis, again, garbage, no good. Enzyme deficiency, so I already took that prior to seeing a second gastroenterologist. And hi Daisy, you want to come in? Prior to seeing the second gastroenterologist. Oh, that's Daisy, she wants to join. Go in. Yeah. Crazy dog. He's a crazy dog. Yeah, say hi. Okay, you cute. Yeah, you cute. Good dog. So I did, yeah, I already did digestive enzyme, different kind of digestive enzyme. Again, follow the protocol, no change whatsoever. But I tested positive for deficiency on 2 or 3 of them. So they prescribed some pharmaceutical level. They were, again, like high dosage compared to what I took. No change whatsoever. So I don't know those testing, but again, the second gastro was nice. Then I went to see a third gastro, which was not part of this group, someone completely different, just for consult. Be like, okay, this is what I done. This is where I am. What do you think? And total waste of my time. Again, waiting an hour to see the gastro. Briefly look at everything. Say, no, I agree. Functional dyspepsia, IBS. Okay, so total waste. And then the fourth one was someone that was covering for one of the first one I saw, and again went over everything, but waste of my life. I went to see my internist, explain everything. Very nice lady, young lady. I had no clue. So, waste of my life, waste of time. So, but I tried. You try every avenue, really. Also, the doctor of naturopathy, so I'm not very familiar. Very interesting thing. Wait a minute. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you cute. Yeah, wait. So I'm not very familiar of, okay, they are doctor, naturopathy, they are doctor, but they are not covered by health insurance. No health insurance covered. Very expensive. The consultation was free. And then it was $400, I believe. You had to pay $400 for the first examination and evaluation, things like that. And then I forgot how much, 180 each time or something like that. And then basically what he said was, based on what I've done, I emailed him a couple of stuff before the consult. He said, well, most likely you have a food allergy. Some food is not responding well to you, or the combination of food that you eat at the same time doesn't work. So we're going to do a elimination diet protocol, very specific, that we follow with patient. And I already done that myself with a bunch of things, like with, you know, when I was diagnosed with gastritis, I did the elimination diet as far as like no tomato, nothing acid, no vinegar, no things like that, and it didn't do anything. So it didn't make sense to me. Plus the money, again, it's money. It's like it didn't feel very genuine, at least. So I'm not sure about that naturopathy stuff. It's, again, weird. Well, and they covered by health insurance. It's anyway. But again, I tried everything. I mean, I really tried everything. When you're in misery and suffering, you're willing to try anything. So, how did I find it? What's going on? Well, again, internet, and there's more to it, and I can go more in detail any topic you want me to. If you want to leave in the comment, I can make more videos too, because there's a lot more to. In 2 years, there's a lot more than just that video. I can tell you that. So the internet is, again, I repeat, curse blessing. A lot of garbage information. People have no clue, or they self-diagnose themselves, never done any tests, and they say, oh, I did that because I have that, but they don't even have that, really, and probably not even that bad, or I don't know. But there's a couple of videos that I saw again after 2 years. Suddenly, all the symptoms stay the same, except the pain, the epigastric pain, got better, meaning like it was there, but it was mild, but everything else was the same, pure misery. However, I started to get diarrhea more frequently, and literally there was a week where it was like watery diarrhea, and I never had that really ever. And then I just watched videos, and on YouTube, and one of the videos was a young lady from England, I remember, and she talked about this condition, BAM, bile acid malabsorption. And I've seen that video before. I know that because I watch, again, hours and hours and so many hours. I watch everything related to GI condition problem on YouTube, on Facebook, on forum, talk to so many patients. And I watched that video before, but didn't really tick with me. But this time it did, because of the fact that suddenly I had diarrhea and I never had that. And again, it makes total sense now. If you want more information, I can explain any of those things now because it's so logical now. And the gastro should know those things. It's insane they don't. It's ridiculous. So after I watched that video, I was like, well, that kind of adds up. And when you think about it, most of the supplement video, or most of the thing online, most of the forum, whatever, everything, it's always about adding things. Well, you probably don't have enough gastric acid, so let's add some HCl, so you take supplement for that. You probably don't have enough enzyme to digest, well, let's add enzyme to digest plus. You probably don't have vitamin D, vitamin K, you probably don't have enough motion in your stuff, so let's add something that stimulates more motion. It's always adding more things. But what if your problem is actually that you don't have enough of something? Same with gastritis. It's always like, they suppress. That's the only thing really as far as treatment that suppress the amount of something. They suppress the gastric acid, but everything else as far as supplement or what you read online is always about adding, because you're lacking something. You're lacking vitamin, you're lacking minerals, you're lacking prebiotic. You don't have enough gastric acid, you don't have enough bile. So I did the bile ox supplement, I did everything, but it's nothing except omeprazole and all those things, decrease acidity, is about decreasing everything. What if you have too much of something? And that's what kind of ticked me when I watched that video. I'm like, oh. And it's strange that I was telling the gastroenterologist, it's strange that there's not such a test where you just have a test where you eat and you really calculate what you eat, the composition of your food that you eat for a full day or 2 days, and then you calculate the composition of what comes out and your bowel movement and see how it's processed by your body. Like, that should give you a ton of indication of what's going on, what's come in and what's come out, and the composition of it from the beginning to the end show you how it's processed, and if it's processed right or if it's not. And it should give you a lot of indication, but apparently there's not such a thing. They can target one thing. They can calculate the amount of fat in your stool. They can calculate if you have parasite. They can calculate if you have blood. But there's not something that calculates everything at once. You have to go over one thing at a time. So you would have to do a ton of stool tests to calculate every single thing. But anyway, so that video ticked me off again. And I was like, well, then that's maybe what I have. Bile acid malabsorption. And again, you can Google it. There's basically your body, there's two kinds, and we don't really know why or how, but one is that your bile normally is supposed to be reabsorbed, recycled, and then put back and be reused, or either your body produce too much of bile and cannot be all reabsorbed, and that give you basically all my symptoms that I have. But everybody is different. Again, of course, some patients with the same condition will have symptoms that are worse than others, as far as intensity, as far as frequency, and as far as the symptoms themselves. It will vary a little bit. But to me, it's so obvious now if you Google BAM, it's exactly what I had. How come they didn't know that? Now, the treatment is so simple. I take a medication. They have it in powder. I take but it's supposedly not very good for your teeth, so you gotta be careful. So I take the pill part, so I just take 2 a day. But I had to diagnose myself. I basically went back to the gastroenterologist, and I saw the assistant I treated that day, and I said, hey, I want to try the treatment for BAM, the cholecystine, I think it's called. And she wrote the prescription, and I even myself told her the dosage, like I'm gonna try start at 2 milligrams and then figure it out. And And it was really a shot, why not at this point? I didn't know what else to think, but it's weird. It's the first time that really, when I looked into not just YouTube videos, but also when I looked at Google it, exactly the disease, what it does, and the symptoms, where everything matched. That was the first time. I did a treatment, and literally within not even a week, within like 5 days, I was 50%, 40% better, I would say, which was the first time. But I didn't really say anything, or I didn't want it to scream victory, because I've been to that many times where seems like I felt a little bit better doing different things, different diet and everything, but came back or really didn't make a difference. It was just maybe mentally I wanted to think that it was making me feel better. But this, so couple of days felt better, I would say 30-40%. Within 10 days I felt like significantly better. 2 weeks I was better, and now it's been I take the medication every day. I try different time as far as when to take it. Again, you have to try different things, like when to take it, the dosage of it. Some people, it might be to take it between the meals. Some people, it's better to take it right when you eat, before you eat, after you eat. So you have to try different things. So me, it works better when I take it between meals in the afternoon. I just take it in the middle of the afternoon. Or if I take a heavy meal, if I eat a heavy meal, I just take it right after I eat. I don't know, cause-effect relationship. I try different things. Seems to work pretty good for me that way. But it's unbelievable. I have my life back. My mental wellness and my outlook in the future, it's so good and back to normal, and so appreciative of little thing that I didn't really care or realize before. Now I have to take it probably for the rest of my life, and that's okay. But and it's not perfect. I would have say it's been now a little bit more than a year, and that's why I waited quite a bit to do the video too, because I wanted to make sure that there would not be a relapse or an adaptation, or because I after suffering so much, you don't even believe that it's possible that you're gonna get better, to tell you the truth. At least I did not. But it's an incredible, oh my goodness, it's just that feeling. And now every day, I would say I still think, because I still feel I'm not perfect, but it's fine. I can live with that easily. It's not a big deal. I don't have any urgency anymore. I'm regular. The bile still doesn't look normal, but it's closer to normal. I have no nausea, very rarely, maybe twice a month, mildly. No abdominal distension whatsoever, no bloating. I can eat everything. I digest well. No noise or sensation in the abdomen when I eat. Like I say, I would say I have about 10% residual of symptoms that are still there. Some days I might have some bad days, like generally it's like 2 days, 3 days in a row, and I might have like 20%. But 20% compared to what it was before it's fine. It doesn't really affect my life much. I feel it, but I can do anything. It's fine. And some days I just don't feel nothing really. I don't even think about it, tell you the truth. And it's the most unbelievable thing when after so much suffering and so long, it's getting your life back suddenly. So I hope it will help people. If you need more information, if you want to know dosage and everything, and there's not really a test for it. At least I think in America there's one in England, I think, or in Australia, strangely enough. And when you read the literature, again, my advice is, yes, YouTube, Facebook, different thing, but go online, go read the literature, which some of it you can't understand, but read the conclusion, the end of those articles, and you will get a better understanding from real source of the condition, the symptom, the treatment, different things for different things, really, because so much garbage of people talking about nonsense. But so mad. Apparently it is frequently misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed from what I read, again, on papers, on paper written by medical professionals. And I don't know why, because it's so easy to diagnose and so easy to treat. And if you're not sure that's what it is, and if you try a lot of things on patients, I'm thinking a lot of patients with garbage diagnosis of IBS and functional dyspepsia like me, maybe also, I'm not sure about SIBO, I don't know much, I'm not gonna deny, I'm sure some people really have SIBO, and sucrose intolerance, and those things I've been diagnosed with, which I don't, obviously, because I did the treatment, didn't change anything. But a lot of patients, a lot of people that have symptoms of IBS and different things, that I tried different things and nothing works, those professionals should just try that. It's totally really harmful to try it for 7 days, 10 days. I mean, you're going to know right away. It's not like you have to do the treatment for 3 months to know if it helps and if it's that. And there's no test. There's no test for the amount of bile that is released. And it's very interesting because everything in the body is an equilibrium. It's a relationship. There's a yin and the yang, there's a plus and a minus. Everything, there's a counter effect for everything. So you eat food, you need the gastric acid to digest your food, but then when it goes down in your below after the stomach, you need something to decrease the acidity. If not, it will burn you, literally, it will damage you. So that's where the biles come to neutralize the acidity of the gastric acid. And you need a fine balance. You need the same amount of gastric acid to counterbalance a certain amount, a certain amount of bile to counterbalance a certain amount of gastric acid. If that equilibrium is not correct, if there's too much of one or the other on both sides, you're going to have issues. And there's no way to calculate that. There's no test to calculate that. There's a test to calculate the gastric acid. They can put a little probe, something they were telling me to do, but they say based on the endoscopy it's pointless because mine was very slight. But they can put a probe actually in your stomach that they leave for 24 hours, I believe, and they see the pH of your stomach during the full day, and they see, if you have too much acidity as far as gastritis. But there's not such a thing for the bile, and same thing for gastric enzyme and stuff. There's not such a thing. So it's something that is really misunderstood, under diagnosed apparently. And anyway, very long video. I hope it's gonna help a lot of people. The last thing I would like to say is the diet too. I also tried, of course, all the diets. Very difficult to do, like the FODMAP diet. I did it by the book. I did it for a couple of weeks, like 3-4 weeks each time. And it's not simple. Again, my heart goes to those people that have to be on that all the time, because I've done it by the book. Very difficult when you have a life, when you work, when you have family, when you try to go out, because it's not hard to follow. If you really follow it strictly, your life is completely different. You cannot do normal thing with everybody else, because you cannot go to a restaurant and have a FODMAP diet. I mean, really. I did a starch diet too, with no starch, which is even harder than the FODMAP. Everybody has starch, really. I did not a carnivorous diet, but a high protein diet. I did a vegetarian diet. I did allergenic diet. I did the diet of where you not avoid certain food because you might be allergic to it. Eggs and milk product, anything with lactose, and I mean, total nightmare, very difficult, but nothing worked. And it was so simple, because now I do everything I want, back to my normal life, back to exercise well without pain. I hope that it will help some people. If you're not sure and you've been diagnosed with IBS or different thing, functional dyspepsia like me, and nothing worked, and you're miserable, and it's worth a try. Just ask your doctor if he can give you the prescription for treatment for bile acid malabsorption, BAM disease, which is just a simple treatment. It cost me, I think, $30 for a month at the pharmacy where I go. I'm gonna show you all the supplement, different thing I took over those 2 years, and I have a lot more, but some of them I kept, which is unbelievable. Again, the amount of time, effort, energy, money spent, but you're desperate, you're gonna try anything. There was one more thing I wanted to mention. I don't remember, but if not, again, I would do a follow-up video. Come on, Daisy. Daisy, come on. So anyway, let me show you that. This is some of the things. We'll have that beautiful mineral clay. Yeah, that was great. Protocol for antibiotics, antimicrobial. And this is what I take. Wait, I'm doing a video, sweetie. Give me a minute. Cholesterol. Microcholesterol. That's some other thing. Interestingly enough, that thing here was prescribed by the first gastro and helped a little bit for a while. But anyway. Oh yeah, the last point I wanted to make, and I'm going to finish with that, is what's difficult also is that it seems like some of the things you try helps, and again, it might be psychological because you want to believe it works, or because it really works. In my case, it makes total sense. When you think about it, the first round of antibiotics, literally when I was diagnosed with H. pylori, with the gastritis medication, omeprazole, anti-acid medication. Why did it work for like that 8, 9, 10 days? Well, it's logical when you think about it. You're going to decrease the amount of gastric acid that goes in your stomach by taking that medication. Well, then the body is going to produce bile in relationship to the amount of gastric acid. So if you decrease the amount of gastric acid, your body is going to decrease the amount of bile. So it felt better until the body readjusted itself and then produced either, in my case, too much bile or didn't reabsorb the bile. I'm not sure which one I fit in under, but it's one or the other. And everything's like that. That treatment, IB guard, same thing. It was surprising. For a couple of days, I felt like significantly better. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy. It's like a natural peppermint oil and something like that. And I was like, oh my God, finally. And it came back clearly, I think it was 2 to 3 days, 2 days, and then it came right back the same. And it's the same thing. It changed a little bit the balance of the gastric acid and the bile. So for a short time, it works. And a lot of things like that you do are going to change that balance. So it helps a little bit or it works, but it does not. It's just temporarily until you get rid of the excess bile that is in your system, which is, in my case, the bile acid. The symptom of itchiness down there, burning sensation, it's bile acid. You have too much of it. It will give you that symptom. The yellowish of the stool that are floating, high fat content, when they float, makes total sense. Again, bile, too much bile. The written is on the written is on the wall. It's insane that those gastroenterologists, I show them picture, all of them of, again, it's kind of gross, but we're talking about disease here, and I show them picture of the stool, saying it's not normal, and they're all like, no, that's normal. It's not normal. I know myself. I'm 54-year-old. So all those things makes total sense. And if you have more questions, again, please ask and I can answer. But everything adds up now, and obviously it is what it is because it's been over a year. I have my life back. Very minimal symptom. That treatment, the medication works because it just takes some of the bile out of my body. And so exciting, and I hope that you will have more people, and I want to try to post more video and bring more awareness of that disease that's obviously misdiagnosed in my case, and I'm sure in a lot of cases. Anyway, thank you so much. Hope it was not too long and boring, and hope that it helps someone. Thank you.